I've been standing in the mirror, talking to the cracks in my face.
Okay, welcome to SynologyOnline.com. Today I have a, what is that, a DS 1815? No, this is not a DS 1815. This is the DS 918 Plus. Hi, baby. But anyways, I just put the EDOM flash on this because I was using the 918 for another board, but it's the same. I just transferred it. But a lot of people, my customers especially, ask me, what do you do when a board comes in? Well, the first thing we do is we want to see if it boots, all right, and it beeps. That's the key thing. You need to know, does it boop or beep? Okay, if it beeps, that's good. If it just flashes blue and does nothing, like you see on the 12 or 13 series, sometimes even the 15 series, or even this one. But this one actually works. Just has a couple of fried LAN ports on it, so I'm using it as a test unit. So I use these for parts. I mean, I could fix it and sell it for like $200-300. Obviously, you can see one of the LAN chips is missing. The other one's still there. They're both fried. I just took one off. So when I get spare time, I'll come over to some of I got hundreds of parts boards, so I'll just go to them and see if I can fix them or just take parts off them. Sometimes they're more valuable as parts than they are fixed. So anyways, I'm connected to power. I'm hooked up to my serial port, and other videos I've done the serial port thing. So let me see. It's the thing about phones, blurry. It's those bottom pins. But anyways, so here's what we do. There's several test tools I use if I don't see a board that boots, and I actually run a couple of those things. Now this board I know boots, but what if you get one that just flashes the blue light and doesn't boot? So the first thing I would do is I would turn it on. So I just turned it on. The power I turned on. So I'm going to turn the... Okay, now that's on. So, and we'll probably see it here boot. I'm carrying my phone because it allows me to do a little bit more checks being mobile. Okay, it's booting. So, and it uses that grub loader. So, one of the things I check is if it doesn't boot, even if it does boots, but no, I haven't seen when it doesn't boot with this. I have a USB blaster, so I would check my Altera. I believe, yeah, here's the Altera. It's a program chip, and that's why you can't buy these. So, and I only have donor boards that I use for this. This could be a donor, but I have actually a bunch of these, and I have donor chips, lots of them for this one. But I'm connected on the Altera's port. So, and it's on because I have it plugged into a USB socket over here. So, you can see it there. Now, what I would do is you just grab like Quartus and run like JTAG debugger. Let me see the hardware, of course, I have is the USB blaster. So did I select it? Maybe I forgot to. There we go. All right. So there's nothing showing, but if we can actually see something on the Altera, and I'm gonna do that now. Okay, we did. We saw this chip over here, the 10. This is actually the 5M80Z Altera that's in here. I don't know if you can read it, but there it is. So that means at least we know 20% of Altera's working. You see it's blinking over there. We can't tell everything on Altera, but at least we know some parts of it are working. And it's a good test to use to at least try to rule out, at least most of the time, the Altera being a problem. So that's one thing. So now, if I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna unplug this. So, unplug this, and let's see. I can take this out. I know it boots anyways, but what if it doesn't? So what's next? Okay, now there is a company online called Herald. Not Herald, Cmizapper. And I make mention of this in a couple of videos. Now, Cmizapper, known more for their Apple tools. You know, I know Harold for many years that owns the site. I even chat with him in emails and stuff. So he makes the EDOM tool for me, which is the one that records EDOM. And this plugs in here. So I can plug it into a PC and read it. But another key tool that Harold makes for us is the DOM port check. So what we do is we will plug it in a board that we suspect, and we want to see if there's any EDOM activity. Okay, so I plug this board in, so I'm gonna turn it on over here. Okay, so we got two red lights, and we hope to see the green light flash, which is the USB activity light. Okay, so let's see what happens. There we go. This is a good sign. So what this tells me is the BIOS is working, the CPU is working, and a request to read from the EDOM is working. If I didn't see this, okay, there's a chance the BIOS or the CPU have been affected. In some rare cases, that Altera can sometimes even do this. So we'll start troubleshooting with the BIOS and see what happens and pray that it comes back, because CPU changing, we don't do, it's really not worth it. You know, the price of the CPU, the labor, and Altera will do as a last resort. But there's a lot of other things that have to get checked on this board. So you can see the requests to constantly go and look for the EDOM to make sure that, you know, something's there for me to boot. I can't boot without it. So these are some tests. So if you ever like playing and tinkering around with your board, I suggest you pick up a set of these from Cmizapper.com. Harold's the owner, and I've mentioned these in a couple of videos, but man, this saves you hundreds. And when you do a lot of boards, this is your key. All right, so that's actually everything done in the preliminary testing of a board. And if I have to do an EDOM, this is beautiful too. And I've actually gone over this with people. See if I can plug it in with one hand and do my magic. There it goes. There we go. That's another good thing. Because that green light is there, we have a heartbeat signal, which means the controller is active. That comes from the controller. So if you have a bad controller on your EDOM, that ain't gonna show anything. It's gonna be blank. All right. So if I go over here now to my PC, I can actually, here we go. I'm loading. I should zoom out a little bit. There it is, Synology Disk Station. All right. And remember, I wrote how you can tell if it's good or bad, like how long it takes for us to read this. So I can be copying my EDOM. This is slowing down because I left a tool open here. So people say, oh, you know, it's not working right. But if you run into that where it stalls, just unplug it. Plug it back in. And you'll see a big change the next time you do it. So we got this station. Call it a name. Wow, that's different. Okay. It's less than that 15-20 second thing, maybe. Who knows, you know? It's going to stall if you have some areas that are kind of hokey. So obviously this one's having some issues. And let's do this. Oh, I'll unplug it. Don't take for granted. You got to do this a few times. It's not the reader. 90% of the times it's the PC. Okay. You might see it different on the fourth try. See what I mean? You gotta do it a few times, because a lot of stuff going on in the background with PCs, taking USBs or serial bus stuff, and it can affect you. This is a good DOM. I know it boots this board, so less than 10 seconds it did it. And the limit is, if you know you got a bad EDOM, is if it takes between, you know, no more than 20 seconds, 15 or 20 seconds, I would say is a bad EDOM. For reading only. For writing, those are a lot slower anyways. But anyways, thought I'd pass this over to you. Some of the test tools I use, and Cmizapper, best tool in the world. The old way was a lot harder. This way is a lot easier. Plus, we had a lot of PC work. Cmizapper got a nice HDMI tester. Simulates a monitor present, but at least you can test your HDMI ports are working